Good morning. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
And my monitor's not working out here.
I'm sorry about that.
Okay. All right, but it's live TV, so let's get it on.
Yep. Well, let's talk first about the fact that you had an amazing meeting. I watched your retirement board meeting, and I have a question for you.
Yes.
When did auditors and accountants become lawyers?
Yeah, well, in Fall River, they're always lawyers. They're cross-trained to misinterpret the law, and because when they do, and we get sued and lose again, like we always do, it's the taxpayer money that pays. So
that's it.
It was a very exciting meeting. But what I want, if people please catch the meeting, not because of the fireworks, which I think are fairly entertaining, but please listen to what went on at that meeting. First, Mary Sahadi went on a long explanation of why the retirement board, and it would be cleaner for us to assume these responsibilities, which we are not by law required to do. But listen very carefully to what she said. She talked about entering into contracts, and it's going to be better this way, and she went on this long litany of things. But then listen to when our attorney had to explain to her that those contracts that she wanted us to enter into were illegal. We can't do that. Also, listen to Mr. Gupta when he admitted that they initially tried to do this so we would pay for the audit. And when I objected on the fact that they're making employees overpay, the person who called retirees liabilities, people who spent 40 years and 50 years and 30 years serving the city, putting their life on the line, picking up trash, doing it, called them liabilities, now ruffled when I said, how can the city come up with a formula in its auditor that Diamond is going to pay a third, the housing authority is going to pay a third, and the city's going to pay a third? Easy, because now the city only gets to pay 33%. Instead of like 90%, because those two other entities comprise a very small amount of people in the system. And then at the end of the discussion, I facetiously said, when you meet with those people, ask them if they want to pay 1/3 of the unfunded liability, and she got really upset. And so I'm saying to you people out there, if you know anybody that works at Diamond, or you know anybody that works at the housing authority, please tell them to run to their union and tell them that when the city does this now, because we voted it down, they're going to do it. They're going to try to get them to pay 1/3 of the cost. That's like me saying to you, I'm going to have an audit, and 9/10 of that audit, or in this case, 8/10 of this audit, we'll say there's 3 people in it, 8/10 of that audit will be on my company, but you get to pay 1/3 and 1/3, and I only get to pay 1/3. Another case of Fall River trying to duck out of paying their obligations to the people and freeing up more time for Mary Sahadi and the rest of the merry band of nitwits that work over at City Hall to get side jobs, because that's less work for them. Thank you. That's what that meeting was all about. Listen to what our attorney said and pay attention. When they said initially they wanted us to pay, they're trying to get out from under bills that they're responsible to pay as usual, but they don't have any problem giving unqualified people pay raises and making jobs for everybody. And with that, watch the meeting, and let's move on.
Hills, mills, and unpaid bills. Okay, now we have to get into something that's rather interesting. Because, as you know, a local manufacturer made headline news for Fall River again. I don't know why they would consider it headline news, but they did. They made headline news for the Olympics, and now they're making it for Hillary Clinton. I'm going to show you this ad, and I don't like showing political ads. We are not endorsing Ms. Clinton. We're not endorsing Mr. Trump. We're going to specify the facts here. So please...
The facts?
Yeah, I know, the facts. Can you believe that? I'm going to actually talk about the facts. So please watch this.
I'm Hillary Clinton, and I approve this message.
This factory has been here since 18. We have over 60 people here making shirts labeled Made in America. But Donald Trump's brand of shirts come from China, his suits from Mexico, his coats from India. Trump's products have been made in 12 other countries because he says there's no place in America that he can make them. Well, there is. You know, Donald Trump says he'll make America great again while he's taking the shirts right off our backs.
Mr. Kidder, I'm going to explain something to you, as I have done in previous attempts, and I want to talk about this. First and foremost, your candidate was part of what I want to call the stealing of jobs from the people of America. Your candidate's husband, Bill Clinton, signed into law on December 8th, 1993, NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, which sent jobs everywhere else in the world except America. Now, when Clinton signed this bill, he said, quote, NAFTA means jobs, American jobs, and good paying American jobs. If I didn't believe that, I wouldn't support this agreement. Well, guess what, Mr. Kidder? Your candidate, Hillary Clinton, your candidate's husband, sold your industry down the river and sent them to Japan and China and Taiwan and
Bangladesh,
Mexico and Guatemala and Bangladesh, everywhere else.
and Vietnam.
Right. So remember this, and here's the thing, politics is never a certain thing. Now, Mr. Kidder, understand something. If your candidate wins, you will probably lose your business. If your candidate loses, you will probably lose your business. Why? Because the repercussions of the opposing sides will always go to the lowest common denominator. Now, this may have put your name out there nationally. And you know what? For marketing purposes, that's a wonderful thing. You did a wonderful thing when you did the Olympics thing. But you know what? You can't do that. You cannot do that. And when you do that, you create a problem for yourself and your workers. And let's talk a little bit more about NAFTA. Seriously, let's talk about it. Duro Textiles issued a warn notice. They're required to do that. 100 jobs. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, 100 jobs. Thank you, NAFTA. Okay? And then, again, Mr. New England Shirt Company, even the Democrats are jumping ship on your candidate. Okay? They actually call themselves the Trumpocrats. It's an actual super PAC. And they believe that the disenfranchised Democrats have abandoned Hillary Clinton and started a super PAC called Trumpocrats in support of Donald Trump. The executive director of Trumpocrats PAC, Christian Reichers, said his opposition to Hillary Clinton's candidacy is due to her position on free trade. Your candidate supports this stuff, and it's reason why he and many other Democrats are abandoning the party. I'm a lifelong Democrat, really, since I was a little kid, and I still am a Democrat. But the Clintons, for instance, where I am from, my hometown, when I was a kid, we had 15 manufacturing plants, and now we have 1. This is what this presidential candidate stands for, according to their own people. This isn't from us, this is from their own people. And it's kind of scary when you think about that. Politics is a dangerous world to venture into. And when you do, understand that the repercussions can be vast and deadly. And this could kill your industry.
It will kill the industry. Look, let me just, this is a spot that really, people wonder why I stay angry all the time. It's because I've been doing this for a very, very long time, and I've seen the total insensitivity that government and business, big business, has for people and humanity. We've seen with the EpiPen issue, and now that individual's on CNN basically saying, I've got a business to run. She's not making any apologies about her elevation from $2 million to $18 and $19 million.
19.9.
And she doesn't care. And also, I'm going to condemn CNBC because they were. That interview was extremely remiss. Why didn't he have a list of how much some of these drugs cost in foreign countries? Why didn't he ask her why they moved to the Netherlands? They moved to the Netherlands like people moved to Bangladesh, because people like Bill Clinton said, NAFTA means good jobs, American jobs. That's horse manure. I was the president of a labor union during this period, and we fought vigorously, as all labor unions did, against the quote-unquote poor man's party, working man's party, the Democrats, against Clinton, because we knew who in their right mind is going to think that a business that can cut their costs by 90% by moving to another country is not going to do so. Do you think they love America that much? Let me tell you something. In the old feudal Japanese society, the lowest order of their society was businessmen, because they had no honor and they only operated for profit. And it's still the same. All you have to do is look at the pharmaceutical issue with the EpiPen, with the cancer drug. You look at these other businesses. Did Donald Trump move overseas? You're damn right. He's a businessman. And maybe as a businessman, he knows how to stop this. But I'm not endorsing either one. But for the Clintons and for Hillary to say that she's going to do things like put exit fees on them, you think they give a damn about exit fee if they're going to save 90% in their operating costs? Has anybody done anything about this EpiPen? They moved to the Netherlands. Have they told them you can't come to the United States? Has her father, a senator from West Virginia, who, number one, I'm sure he knew that she was raising the prices. I'm sure he knew how much she was getting paid. And I'm sure he knew that she got a $16 million, and I'll say it again, $16 million pay raise. But did he lead the charge in the Senate for his price gouging daughter? And she said it's supply and demand. No, it's not. It's a matter of life and death for children with allergies and people with allergies that can go into anaphylaxis and die because they're going to go into anaphylactic shock. They're not, they're making a profit when they sold it for 400% less. But they can never make enough because she wants $16 million pay raises. So let me tell you this. I'll wrap my tirade, my diatribe on this up with a very simple thing. Don't trust government and don't trust big business. Maybe you can trust the mom and pop store on the corner who's operating on a shoestring. Maybe you can trust your small businessman who you know personally. But when you become a mega corporation, your stockholders only care about one thing, money. And politicians only care about one thing, campaign donations and bribes. And the only way to stop this bleeding is to unelect these idiots. We are the government, but we are the government only when we exercise our right to vote. And I don't care if your senator or state rep or city councilor gives you a chow mein sandwich and tells you how much they like you. And if you call me, I'll make a call and I'll get that street light fixed. That's not what this is about. Pay attention, people. There are people dying in this country because of greed and avarice from businesses and politicians. We just had the issue in Afghanistan. We had a civilian killed and an American Special Forces soldier. 15 years we've been there. It's gotten no better. Genghis Khan went to Afghanistan, took one look at the place and said, I'm not even going to invade this place. It's not worth it. The Russians spent 10 years in there and got the hell out. We've been here 15 and we're going to stay a lot longer. You know why? Because they're making money. And you know something? Don't give me the crap about they're going to come over here and do something to us. Those are not the terrorists we got to worry about. They barely invented the wheel in Afghanistan. They're walking around herding goats over there. That place is like a half a step from the Stone Age. And if you think they're a threat to us, you need your damn head examined. And that's it for me.
Well, we have a public service announcement. There you go. It says right on there, you can't fix stupid, but you can vote it out.
That's right. There you go.
Now, you know, as usual, I'm having just a little bit of a problem this week. And again, I'm going to bring up our next great victim. This is the new styles for Hillary Clinton's campaigning. As you notice, she's wearing the Vavoo house coat and pants.
My monitor's not working.
I know, she looks like an oven mitt.
Whoa, that's a good one.
She looks like an oven mitt, and she's sitting there with Cher clapping her hands, and I'm like, are you serious?
Oh.
I mean, this is just unbelievable. But
Don't get me going on Cher.
I know, but, you know, another thing that's really bothered me, and it came up this week, is here is a picture of the Parent Center entrance over at Durfee High School.
Oh, yeah.
And you'll notice that, number one, the door is falling apart, but I'm going to bring out the picture a little bit. There is a child in a wheelchair that has to gain entrance to this building. Now, I brought this up to the school committee and the superintendent and made this very clear. This can't happen. Okay? And they said they're going to fix it in a week. I have very serious doubts that they're going to fix that in a week. But, you know, what can I tell you? I'm kind of taking this out of line because I want to get these bits of information in real quick. But I'm going to read you something from the City Council meeting Committee on Ordinance and Legislation. And here's a picture of it for our viewers. Whereas Chapter 292 of the Acts of 1980, which outlines the recall process, appears to be ambiguous in many respects. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council Committee on Ordinances and Legislation meet to review the special act in an effort to recommend amendments to members of the City Council, and be it further resolved that the City Council petition the General Court to make such amendments. This was sponsored by City Councilor Ray Mitchell. Councilor Mitchell, I'm probably going to say this once and only once, and I'm going to say this to Councilor Ponte, who is the chairman of the committee, and to every city councilor on it, and there are 5. Understand, there are 5, which means if they pass it, it goes to the full council. They are the full council de facto because they're a quorum.
And it will pass if they all vote in the affirmative.
That's right. And here's the thing. Granted, we know that there are ambiguous situations within the legislation, but the legislation worked. The legislation worked. So guess what? If you touch this, I can almost guarantee you that the voters are going to turn around and say, you're doing this because you want to remove the recall process and you want to change it to make it more difficult. And those people will start a recall on you, or worse. When you run for office, they'll make sure you don't get reelected.
Well, as someone who had an intimate
Yeah, it's not like we don't know what we're talking about.
on this, look, let me say, you know, this thing does need some tweaking. There are some there are some points like, can they run the person who's recalled? Can they run for the office again? There are a couple of little tweakies, but the problem is, we know what this really is. This is a movement to make the recalls more difficult.
That's
they
right.
don't, because they don't want to be recalled.
And the Charter Commission's doing the same thing.
Yeah, and that's their call, and the Charter Commission, and shame on them. Because I'm going to tell you something. I shouldn't have to quote, and I will if this comes before the council, and I don't like going there anymore. But I will remind them that there's a thing that says, you know, when it becomes necessary to dissolve the bonds, and we know what that is.
Yep.
And there's also a part in our state constitution that says all politicians, be they legislative, executive, or judicial, are answerable to the people at all times and their agents. So when you make the people's voice, you try to suppress the people's ability to change its government peacefully, you're inviting more aggressive attacks It's un-American. I will remind you of another little thing. Taxation without representation. You're elected to represent us, and if we're not satisfied with your representation, we should not have to be subjected to 2, or now you're trying to move it to 4 years of your reign of power. When you have failed in your duty to represent the people, you should be thrown out of office. Your ass should fly out of there like it's on fire. And you know something? If anything, they should make this recall process easier.
I agree.
As long as it's for viable cause. You can't just say you don't like the way some... But when people are not doing their job...
I don't like them dressing like an oven mitt.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, I mean, this is absurd.
Right.
And it's again, just like they did with public input, it's an attempt to suppress the voice of the people. And I'll remind you that this country began with the cry of being taxed without having a voice. And that's it for that one.
Well, you know what? I think Tiverton's been watching our show. Longplex Sports Center in Tiverton will offer year-round fun.
Yeah. And they'll make a bundle.
And they'll make a bundle. But guess who won't? Because they don't listen.
That's right.
Fall River won't.
Yeah, who told the story about going all the way to North Carolina, the complex, and having to go to Bridgewater to watch indoor softball and soccer games and watching them make money hand over fist? You had to book months in advance for winter hours for your team to practice indoors. But of course, our Fall River of economic disaster wouldn't do anything like that because it actually worked and it's actually viable in this climate. But Tiverton, that's what, 1/20th the size of Fall River.
Right.
You know, they can figure it out. So again, kudos to you, Office of Economic
Destruction.
That's right.
Mark Dion came out with a column again. Today's column. He posted at 7 o'clock this morning. You have to read it. Okay? Wanted, a new Fall River population apply within. And there are a couple of really nice quotes in here, which I think really represent Jaisal Correa in the best way possible. And you have to laugh at it. I mean, let's take out an ad in the Boston Globe. Wanted, new population for aging industrial city. Must be well-dressed with a salary of at least $100,000. Must provide proof of income. Should display a willingness to live in old school buildings with minimal off-street parking. Or better yet, make it a personal ad. Male seeking large population of wealthy, college-educated hipsters for revitalization action. Gender unimportant. Should be into yearly tax increases, old mills, cold brew coffee, and leased luxury cars. You know, I mean, that's really what this guy is. This is the new era, like you said, of market rate housing, which we've been saying for months, almost a year now, that it's an absolute joke. And you know, he says here, Jaisal was the first man to figure out what's wrong with Fall River. Is the people who live here. The tenement dwelling, second-hand car driving, close to the bone residents of the city. Quite frankly, you're a bunch of bums. You don't dress very well. Some of you can't speak English worth a damn. You didn't go to college. And you're old.
And worst of all, you're poor.
And worst of all, you're poor.
And that's why we tax you more all the time, to make you poorer.
And this is truly an image. Read the article. I think it's great.
Yeah, it is.
And of course, we're back to the dead.
Oh.
Graves items are resurrected at the Fall River Cemetery. I mean, Jesus must be walking across the cemetery and bringing them all back. And, you know, the park Nazi, Nancy Smith, turns around and says, I don't want to remove this stuff, but I have to. So next week they're going to do it again. So please, if you have stuff there that you want to keep, make sure. And they make it very clear that some of the people that are there couldn't even pay for the graves. The city had to pay for them. And so they can't put stones around them. So families are creating small memorials and they're destroying them. You know, it truly is kind of sad. But I think Dartmouth is doing it best. Dartmouth schools to be equipped with, drum roll please, Narcan.
Yes, so now you don't have to wait till you're out of school to shoot up.
That's right.
You can shoot up right in the school and they'll save you.
That's
beautiful.
It.
Okay, that's all I got to say about that one. Bye. But I have to get in one thing before we go to the next one. You mentioned share. I want to know, well, although I know, this is rhetorical, people. I'm not asking this question. It's only a rhetorical question. Why does Cher get to compare Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler and Joe Stalin and not be condemned for it? They actually applauded her.
Yep.
It's like, oh, yes, oh, yeah, that's great, yeah, you're right, shit. Why? Because you're a celebrity? If I said that, or CJ said that,
And we have.
or somebody in the general public has said, no, we didn't really say that, we implied,
Right.
or something, or you made something that brought in the, if you just use the name
Right.
Adolf Hitler or Nazi, immediately, you're a hate monger, it's a hate crime, it's hate speech. But when Cher says it, it's like she's singing a song.
Yep.
And that's what's wrong with this country. And you know something? I believe in freedom of speech. I'm not saying she shouldn't say that. As a matter of fact, I think she has every right to say that. But so do we.
That's right.
That's the problem. So do we.
Yeah, well-
So don't condemn us and call us anti-Semitic when you can't even understand what we were saying. It was the exact opposite. But if anybody else, if you or anybody out there in our audience started talking about Hitler or Nazis, they would eviscerate you in the newspaper talking about something like that.
I got to go back to the Narcan issue real quick because
Okay.
I guess the city made this Narcotic Awareness Week, and there was a press conference, and I'm putting up on the screen right now for our viewers, Mr. Michael Aguiar, the Drug Czar, the man who the city council said, no, you cannot have the job, you cannot have the position, and the mayor said, the hell with you, we're still going to give it to you. This is a man who is so butthurt that he blocks people off of his Facebook page, which is designated by him as a governmental page. And I made a comment in regards to the fact that he is a do-nothing, taxpayer-robbing individual who walks away with everything and its mother and does nothing and produces nothing, and it's a wonderful thing. Well, I am still in the fight because, number one, Mr. Aguiar, I don't believe your position. I don't believe in the job you have. You've only been able to find jobs that you can rob your employer of money that they need. And personally, I don't see you accomplishing anything. You hold no true credentials in my book, okay? And I find it very difficult. And the fact that you turned around and you were so hurt by comments made in regards to your job and in regards to what you do that you had to block members of the community from the ability to interact with you via the internet. And then you've got Joe Macy backing up that right to block your interaction with members of the community. That says to me that you are paid with tax dollars, therefore you are responsible to answer to me, to Chip, to every voter, to every taxpayer, to every citizen in this city. And if you can't do it, I demand you resign from your position in the city of Fall River. This is no longer acceptable behavior by any city employee, appointee, or elected official. Your job is to answer to the people, not to your friends.
Well, I guess we're really angry on Friday. And remember, FIIF. You'll figure it out.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you on Monday.
Stay angry.